kids, welcome to the second episode of Mido Adventure series. Mido and the Wolves. Enjoyable viewing.
Mido, the adventurous young Apatosaurus, had traveled far from his peaceful valley, exploring the wonders and dangers of the world. He had crossed vast deserts, scaled rocky hills, and even tiptoed near the edge of a rumbling volcano. But one of the strangest and most terrifying experiences of his journey occurred in the heart of a dense, shadowy forest. One evening, after a long day of walking, Mido found a quiet clearing surrounded by towering trees with thick branches that intertwined like a great, leafy ceiling. The soft glow of fireflies blinked in the air, and the sound of rustling leaves whispered in the wind. Exhausted from his travels, Mido lay down on the cool grass, his long tail curling beside him as he closed his eyes. Sleep quickly overtook him. In his dream, Mido found himself trapped in a dark space. He could hear eerie growls echoing around him. Shadows with piercing eyes moved between the trees, circling him like silent hunters. His heart pounded. He tried to run, but his legs felt like they were sinking into the ground. Then, from the darkness, wolves emerged, their sharp teeth glinting under the moonlight. Just as they leaped toward him, Mido woke up with a gasp. But his nightmare was real. Surrounding him in a tight circle were wolves, dozens of them. Their golden eyes gleamed, their sleek fur bristling as they watched him with hunger and caution. Mido's massive size gave him some protection, but he was alone, and the wolves were many. He had never faced such a threat before. Thinking quickly, Mido rose to his feet, towering over the wolves. He let out a deep, rumbling bellow that echoed through the forest. Some of the wolves hesitated, stepping back, but the largest among them, a black-furred alpha with jagged scars along his snout, stepped forward, baring his fangs. He let out a low growl, and the pack tightened their circle. Mido knew he couldn't fight them all, but he also knew he couldn't show weakness. He remembered how his parents had taught him about the power of presence. Slowly, he raised his long neck to its full height and stomped one massive foot on the ground, shaking the earth beneath him. The wolves flinched. Using his long tail, Mido swiped at the ground, sending up a cloud of dirt and leaves. The display was enough to make some of the younger wolves whimper and retreat a step, but the alpha was not easily intimidated. He lunged forward, aiming for Mido's leg. Mido swung his tail with all his strength, striking the ground just in front of the wolf, causing a deep thud. The alpha skidded to a stop, eyes wide. At that moment, Mido let out another earth-shaking bellow and took a powerful step forward. The ground trembled beneath his weight. The wolves hesitated. Mido seized the moment. He turned sharply, knocking over a small tree with his tail. The wolves, startled by the sudden movement and the falling tree, yelped and scattered. Even the alpha took a step back, eyeing Mido warily. Then, an idea sparked in Mido's mind. He spotted a thick patch of thorny bushes nearby. With careful, deliberate steps, he backed toward them. The wolves followed but hesitated when they saw where he was heading. Mido moved just enough to leave a narrow gap in the thorny barrier before stopping and glaring at the wolves. If they tried to attack him now, they would have to charge through the thick, painful thorns. The alpha paced, considering his options. His pack was restless, uneasy. They had expected an easy hunt, but Mido had turned the tables. Finally, with a snarl of frustration, the alpha let out a sharp bark, signaling his pack to retreat. One by one, the wolves disappeared into the darkness of the forest, their glowing eyes fading like embers in the night. Mido waited until the last rustling sound vanished, before he let out a deep sigh of relief. He had survived. More than that, he had outsmarted them. He stayed near the thorny bushes until dawn, his heart still pounding but his confidence growing. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees, Mido stepped away from his protective barrier and continued his journey, wiser and stronger than before. His adventure with the wolves became one of the most exciting stories he ever told. A reminder that courage, intelligence, and knowing when to stand tall could turn even the darkest nightmares into victories. The next episode, we'll see his story with the monkeys.
Goodbye kids. For more stories, don't forget to subscribe, like and share.